time to do that, and I'll introduce him while he looks silly. This is Bastian Ilso. He's the guy who has been producing our release videos since 3.12. And the builder video. I got it all wrong. He did a lot more stuff than I thought. But he's really awesome. And he's going to tell us what is his workflow for working on the release videos.
Okay. Is this on?
No, it's on.
This little button I got put on.
There's a
Switch
switch on
on the bottom
the
side,
top.
No.
It also looks sort of turned off.
Is the red light go on? Can you flip the switch?
No. The battery is dead?
It
It could be because it went out during the time. I didn't break it.
Yeah, maybe it's dead.
Sorry, Bastian.
It's fine.
Is this one?
Yes. Much better.
Just hold it close to your. Yeah.
Okay.
Where?
Oh, this one? As well? So I can take it. It's fine. We have a lot of time. My presentation is a bit on the short end, so I'll just take my time, and there'll be a good room for questions and everything. How do you turn this off?
Hold the button.
Give it to us.
No.
I think I did it. Okay. Yeah. So my name is Bastian, as Fabiana introduced me, and I do release videos. Is anyone unfamiliar with the videos? Yeah. Because then we might want to watch one. So let's just start by that, since that's not part of this VLC thing. I guess it's in here somewhere. That's the wrong way. This looks great. Let me just check if there's sound.
Spring has come to the Northern Hemisphere, and so has a new release of GNOME. This release, we are bringing you new streamlined theming and a better development experience. Several applications have been revamped. For example, GNOME's image viewer, which now features new user interface controls.
This is a version without music. Let me just see if I can find the right one. It might be this one.
Spring has come to the Northern Hemisphere, and so has a new release of GNOME. This release, we are bringing you new streamlined theming and a better development experience. Several applications have been revamped. For example, GNOME's image viewer, which now features new user interface controls. Files has also received some love, with simplified pop-over menus and improved file view. GNOME 3.16 also brings new visuals to GNOME Shell. This includes the Activities overview, the Application menu, and the System menu. GNOME Shell also provides an improved design of the notification system. These improvements aim to make notifications in GNOME more discoverable, but also easy to get out of your way. This cycle features 3 new GNOME apps. One of them is a preview of GNOME Calendar, an app which helps you plan ahead. GNOME Calendar integrates with your online accounts, so you can take your calendar with you on the go. This release also features a preview of GNOME Books, a new application for your book reading needs. Furthermore, This release brings a preview of Builder, a new application for developers. Builder is an IDE aiming to improve the developer experience on GNOME. Thanks to more than 500 donors, the project was successfully crowdfunded. If you want to help improve the developer experience too, visit the crowdfunding campaign in the description below. GTK also aims to improve the development experience this cycle, with many improvements to the GTK inspector support for OpenGL and a Mir backend. Finally, GNOME 3.16 ships an improved glib, aiming to make life much easier for C developers. The new GNOME release is available for you as a live image to try now. GNOME 3.16 will be shipped by many distributions in the near future. GNOME is made by people, for people. Help us make GNOME better by getting involved today.
And that's about it. I just changed batteries on this, so I might need to start
No, there's a button inside of it.
inside of it. Like in
It says on. Oh. Hold that.
does this work?
Yeah, you have to hold.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Okay. Okay. So that was the 3.16 release video that was released back in March. And besides doing these release videos, I do some study. I study something called mediality, which is a study where we hack some prototypes together for creatives and create some things based on some user studies. And then we make these weird Harry Potter movies also, and electronics. This talk I'm going to talk a bit about the purpose of these videos, what is the utility of these videos for GNOME, also what is, why do I do them myself, and why, what is actually the process of doing these. So far we've had 3 release videos, starting out with the 3.12, which is getting old. It's almost 1.5 years ago. And now we have the 3.16 video and very likely a 3.18 video as well, when that's happening in September here in a month. These videos have proven to be a very useful tool for engagement. These are some statistics that Sri sent me from back in September after 3.14 was released, and it seems that the release videos is getting shared and getting hit by the mouths of users a lot more on social media, which is pretty much dominating the internet in today's world. So that makes that's something that makes the release videos a very useful tool. We are getting new users from within the Linux community and outside. And I think the fact that the release videos create some visuals and creates this sort of clickbait on social media means that maybe a user from KDE or a user from Unity suddenly would like to try GNOME because you can see, oh, these are the latest changes or something like that. Another thing that this is useful for is for the GNOME Boost. This is back at FOSDEM 2013, where I think we had the GNOME 3.12 video shown for the first time on this little screen here. Was it this one? But regardless, it means that we can also attract users not only for online, but actually also when you see them face to face at a conference, they might go over and buy some more merchandise or just talk about what's going on in the new release, because you have this eye-catching factor as well.
Lovely voice of Karen Sandler.
This has sound. But the next thing I wanted to show is that these release videos has also been featured in various talks. This is Tobias Møller at OpenSUSE conference 2014, where he did a talk on GNOME, and he utilized these release videos in his talk and showed it live at the presentation. Furthermore, they've also been used by CAT at GUADEC 2014, so this is another utility of these release videos that I think is helping the community out. And then when the release comes out, it also has this impact on social media that you have. You have, for example, Georges, which is sitting here, committing a whole bunch of things to GNOME Calendar and a lot of blog posts about it. And then it's really awesome that we can finally also showcase this work to users and show the new interaction and the new app. And the community can actually return with some feedback, for example, from Google Plus or from the social media that we are distributing it to.
Was that the mic?
Yes.
Hello?
Just the other one.
Yeah.
Just the other one? Okay. This one is a bit of a power hungry one.
Is this working? This is working. Okay. We also have distributions resharing these videos, which means that we are reaching out far as well with them. For example, OpenSUSE and Fedora project this was back in 3.16, generating some extra activity on social media, and can now show what's coming up in the next version, audio visually basically. That's that pretty much sums up, the whole idea of having release videos and why we might want to have them in GNOME, and why I think we should continue to have something like that. The reason to that I also do them is that it's a really big learning opportunity. These videos take around a month to make, or at least they used to, and it involves a lot of different things, from compositing to video editing to voiceover, which I fortunately can leverage over to Karen, who is making this great voiceover that makes the videos seem so much more professional. The first step in making these videos is to create this manuscript, and usually this manuscript is based on a synopsis, which is then created from some requirements and based on what message you actually want to convey. This manuscript is initially written by me, but then the engagement team and the rest of the community can chime in, so we can keep the manuscript great and updated for the 3.16 release. That's what we are seeing here. After this step where we have this back and forth between me and the engagement team, I go over and begin to play a bit with the colors, which is another step. Usually there's you need to sort of figure out what colors would work well to convey this message of GNOME being elegant and so forth. And I'm just showing some draft stuff here from back when I was doing the 3.16 video. This was the final I decided to go for. It makes a lot of sense since the content that we're actually showing is using the Adwaita theme, so having the animations, both the abstract ones and then the actual video, using this theme as well would mean it integrates much better. Then I do some shooting, and I do this from a Chromebook that I gratefully borrowed from GNOME, and it's running Rawhide. So that means I can get the latest apps and everything. This is how the videos usually look like. I have this weird FFmpeg script I found on the internet that I use. And then I make wallpaper really insanely green, so I can composite the wallpaper out in Blender's compositor, which means we can then throw it inside the 3D space and do funky animations with it. There's around 40 animations for each release video. That would sort of amount to a 3 minutes video, so that's a lot of work. But I try to keep it somewhat simple, which also helps conveying this idea about the design philosophy about being minimalistic and simple and elegant, so that actually fits quite decently. Just to give an idea about how little difference there is in the camera movement here. It kind of lets the content shine rather than letting the animations shine, which is something I only caught up in the later release videos. So that's the end result. You have these very subtle movements of the camera, and then it's actually the video itself which is being in focus here. There's of course also the more complex animations. This is the ending animation of the release video, where you have all sorts of crazy things going on. I usually try to reuse this, recycle it a bit. This is something I use both in the GNOME 3.14 video and also in the GNOME 3.16 video. And that means that it just needs to be gradually updated. And that means less work and more time to do more polish when you get to the video editing space. It looks a bit confusing maybe, but it's actually it's quite nice. It's not really, it's built up over time, from the start of the first month where I get some idea about some animation, or we need to shoot this to the end. It kind of gradually fills up. Usually it starts out with the voiceover being laid out, where we try to time it, find out how should the flow be in the video. And this is the one that's done by Karen Sandler. And it's made possible because Karen Sandler's husband also happens to be an audio engineer. So he has crazy equipment, and Karen has an excellent voice for voiceover that makes YouTube users say, "Oh, it sounds like a Mac advertisement," things like that. But yeah, that's the excellent work by Karen Sandler that was then combined with random sketches and labels and so forth. And once you have a good idea about the flow of the video and how things should be, I slowly begin to shoot each of the apps, and then they get in. I render the animations out and as these PNG sequences to not lose quality, and then lay them on top and create this stream of video that in the end makes up the whole release video. Then you add music afterwards. You could also do it before, I guess, but that's been the sort of the progress of the timeline when I've been doing it. And finally, we now have subtitles, thanks to Peter, who has been helping me out doing the video subtitles repository, which means that, for example, the 3.16 video could be distributed in 17 different languages. So that also means we can go to, for example, national conferences that are maybe spoken in some foreign language or non-English language. And then we can show these videos anyway. I know that Bastian went to, I think, a French conference where actually Alexander had helped with making French subtitles, and that meant we then could show these videos in French. This is the repository, so if any of you happens to also be translators, then feel free to check out the video subtitles repository. So we'll have even more languages for 3.18. All of this is done with free software, of course. Inkscape, GIMP, and Blender combined I think it's a really great pipeline, and you really have a lot of power with these tools. That's to sum up. I think this is something that benefits GNOME quite a lot, and it has a lot of utility for engagement, which is something we definitely need to do more of. And I think it's something actually generally in free software, something we should do more of, having audiovisual material, because this seems to be more interesting to use, for example, on social media, and seems to attract people. And that's basically it. So if you have any questions, then you may ask them, or just contact me on these. And if not, then I have questions for you.
I have a comment. Right, I can only reassure that the release videos have really made a difference when the engagement team around the world, engagement team stuff, when releases have really helped there. So it's great.
Thank you.
I have a question. So, first of all, I'd like to congratulate you. It's an awesome work. And I was quite pleasure to see Calendar on the video, particularly. Well, my question for you is kind of personal, because it has nothing to do with the videos themselves. How did you start contributing to GNOME? How did you find it out? And why did you choose GNOME instead of, I don't know, KDE? What did you think?
The part about why I use GNOME, I guess it's the one that looks nice. And you don't have to do anything to have a computer that works. So that's why I use GNOME. But as for the how I got involved with GNOME, my initial motivation was to give back to the community, because I felt that GNOME was a really polished, nice product. This was back in GNOME 3.6, and it's even better now. But even then, I felt that, and that kind of got me started. But I'm actually doing a talk on that at FOSS GPT as well. But I started out in the engagement team and wrote some annual report stuff, and then Sri got me into making some more videos, because I had made this how to get a good workflow in GNOME 3.6 video on YouTube. And that got a lot of views all of a sudden, so that's kind of where it started. Yeah, I hope that answered your question. About the apps, it's always hard to sort of figure out which, you have maybe 3 minutes of exposure time. You don't want to make the release videos too long. There is, at the AGM yesterday, there was like so many commits every time there's a new GNOME release, and what do we actually feature and stuff like that. I try to cycle a bit between the apps. In 3.16, I didn't feature maps, for example, so I'm probably gonna feature that this time. And then there's all the work by the GSOC students and the interns, which of course also will be featured. So
I have one question.
Mm-hmm. Sorry? That's fine.
So like inspiration for the videos when you're like composing it, do you have any, where do you get your inspiration from, like any other release videos as well?
GNOME design on IRC. I mean, there's I think all the GNOME's assets in the GNOME design team repository is a great source of inspiration if you want to know how GNOME from a design perspective should looks, and how like the style of the composition is I don't know, each video is has some sort of theme. I think in 3.14 I had some extra focus on developer experience. It kind of the composition itself kind of depends on how the what has been kind of the focus in this release. sometimes there's not a focus, but sometimes there's like you see more work in GDK, and then suddenly there's builder, and you know. So then you want to have more focus on.
My question, sorry, but I was more like thinking you like watch a lot of videos yourself to get them for some like release from other projects or something.
Yeah, the question was if I watch a lot of videos myself to get the inspiration. I'm not sure. Maybe it's something subconsciously. I'm not sure. So, one thing I forgot to mention, I was not showing how you make these videos in this talk, and if people are interested in knowing how these videos are made, I made a USB dongle. It's in my bag, and there is. I can actually show on this very high DPI screen. But then, wait, I need to find the USB. But then, yeah, I have assets. I did a workshop at FSCons last year and made a lot of assets. I think there was only 5 or 7 people there, but so I thought I could recycle them a bit. But this one has like stuff like resources. If you want to get into video editing for Blender, I made this basic tutorial on the basic tools and all the funky navigation with the middle click, and you'll love it. Then some more tutorials, animation in Blender with cycles, importing images and SVGs if you're up for that, and yeah. So I did a small collection for the tools that I use, and I even have the script, the really horrible script. Or I don't know if it's horrible, but this internet thing that I found that I use for recording, which uses X11 and some other things. And then some example release videos and then demo blend file. So feel free to get that up here if you desire so.
I have a question, so you have to wait. 2 questions actually. 1, how long does those videos take? And 2, I mean, I saw more or less the outline of how you work, but do you commit those changes like to one of our repositories, or are those things available somewhere that someone could just, if they want to do a release video themselves, or some other kind of video, they can work on top of those files or something like that?
At the moment, it's pretty unorganized. I work on the video in this SSD drive. So everything is on, like we have a bus factor of 1 here, unfortunately. I have a 4.2 gigabytes for the 3.14 video. So if there's a place that I can put up large files, then that might work. But it's probably because I could probably put up the work and then, you know, not with the actual animations, but then you would have to render them out yourself. But with the animations in this PNG, well, that's not PNG. This one is in here. Yeah. This is frames. So you would probably have to render this out yourself, but I think it's definitely doable. I don't know, maybe it will fit inside the GNOME design team repository with under GNOME marketing or something like that. Probably.
You would probably want to create a new repository, otherwise it will get too big, and Git is very bad with big files.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, another thing is that the videos themselves, which I don't have for this one.
Even if Git is fine with big files, it's just for people to get started and they clone that repository and you spend like a day catching up on the design.
Yeah. The actual videos that I took themselves are pretty well compressed, so they might be okay. I'm not sure how Git handles that kind of thing. Yeah. I think when me and Jakob had a repository when we were working on the builder video, and that's another way that I guess the release videos could be set up as well. but we can talk about that later maybe. I don't think I can do this live.
Patrick.
Yeah, we need Patrick. That's true. So, but yes, for now it's here. And I'm already started on the synopsis. So if any of you are very knowledgeable about what's going to happen for 3.18, then feel free to talk to me so I can add it to my little list of things and discoveries. So, yeah.
Another personal question. So, do you enjoy working on these release videos? What do you find? Do you think the community feedback is good enough for you? And anything else? I mean, you're a brave guy. I tried using Blender some time ago, and my eyes burned. So, yeah. Do you find it enjoyable working with the community?
Admittedly, there's some of the work which is a pain, and that's because there are some things. Actually, the main problem is performance. Not that I don't like to work with it, but when you have release videos, then you also quite often have a lot of stuff. This is now I'm just doing something live because that's fun, but. As you can, for example, see there is some performance issues with Blender. It has a lot of tools, but there are some things that sometimes makes it a little pain. But I think 90% of the time I really enjoy it, especially because once you get the release video out there, then you get all these comments from users saying, "Oh, this is GNOME is awesome. This looks so great," and then it really pays back, and it does that in like 3 days. So, and for each release video I make, it also gets a lot easier because I become better at making them, and I create more material that we could potentially recycle. So, I think 3.12, I was quite in a stress there, but then for the other videos, it was much more of a pain-free process. Cool. I'll just showcase some fancy navigation. Here's this one.
It feels like
It's really amazing when you get used to it, but like you can do something like this and get an overview.
Wow. But yeah.
You have to hold control and then middle click, and then you have to move your mouse diagonally, so then you
Basically, you have to be a wizard.
You can also do it in the menus.
I don't do that.
You're making my eyes burn.
Why go by clapping?
Hey, I have a question, Bastian. Now you went to the Libre Graphics meeting, so did you? I'm assuming that you showcase your work using Inkscape and whatnot. What kind of feedback did you get from the Inkscape team on, like, how to improve Inkscape to better suit the kind of work you're doing?
Maybe I showcased my work in a lightning talk, but I didn't have I booked the plane ticket a week before it happened for that conference, so I was not prepared to showcase my work per se, but I did have a talk with the Inkscape developers actually. They were talking a bit about, they're doing this feature-based cycle, and they were talking about how the community was a bit, getting what do you call it, extorted, because it's been such a long time since the last Inkscape release and so forth. But it seems like Inkscape is getting better and better, and now it sounds like they also stopped following the SVG specification cycle, sort of. So they are actually will plan to do more release more often now. So I think that's quite healthy, and I hope that I mean GIMP and Inkscape both they're still on GDK2, and I hope that we'll be able to make the move to GDK3 soon. And as for Blender, I think that's a lost cause, but you know that's how it is. So that one is moving very forward, very fast, but yeah, I think it'll remain one of those tools where you have to know the whole keyboard before you can really use it. So, but I try to make those tutorials to make the make it easier to access and start using it. But yeah, that's how it is.
If I'm not mistaken, you use your laptop to do the video editing. I do some video editing with Blender too, and I have a desktop for that, and I have 2 monitors, and sometimes I feel that's not enough, and I would like a third one. So I would like to have some feedback on how you manage to do this with just the laptop screen.
For some reason, first of all, I have this 17-inch screen, which I mean, it's nothing compared to 2 or 3 monitors, but I don't know, it works for me. Once you get used to the padding and the weird zoom, then it's kind of easy to get a grasp and an overview. But I think maybe my biggest issue is that the performance. The reason too that I use PNG sequences is because Blender is faster at reading PNG sequences than it is at decoding NKV files live and similar. And the same goes for its OpenGL playback. There are some things that it doesn't really support, like alpha over, so you don't get this live preview the same way. Let me see. In this case, I have. For example, both this app here, but also a background that actually moves over time. So it's very useful to get feedback all the way down the strip stack, what you might call it. So one thing that's been improved is that you can make proxies. Let's see if I can here. So you can actually make it render out something in a bit lower quality that's easier to work with. I did that for the montage video, which I might be shown later, and that basically that can basically help you out if performance is an issue. Okay. So is there any other question? If not, then.
Are you actually Are you?
We had questions.
True. My question for you was, I wanted some opinions on whether you think the release videos should continue every half a year, or whether I should change the focus over to creating videos specifically for promoting GNOME, for example, to non-Linux users. The release videos are very centered around showcasing all the new features, and some of the new features might require that you have some insight in what is already there. So that's basically what I was wondering, because these videos happen every half a year. So the question is my time better spent off creating videos for specific purposes, like make a video specifically for GNOME Boost, make a video specifically that we can use for outreach in communities that are not that familiar with Linux even.
Yeah.
I think it's
And
hard.
we also need the channels to reach out to these communities. It's not only a matter of having a video that speaks to them, but also a matter of having a way to show that video. And I'm not sure we're there yet.
True.
I might find it useful for university outreach when we do code workshops at the universities. Open Hatch specifically does a lot of that.
You could like have one video for that use case and continue having this video like regularly. So it won't be too much extra work. I mean, just one extra video, not
Yeah.
one, not one every.
Another one.
Could you like even have a video on a topic and then have it updated and like refresh? Just that way you don't have to do a whole new video. You just do the graphics, maybe insert new points or something once in a while.
I can't promise I can still this. Something like that. I guess. Yeah, I think that might be doable.
Yeah, videos for applications are very good for communication. We showcase features.
I'll write down.
They're quite difficult to maintain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Application
I'm not
change
sure that's a
lots,
good-
and that would be a
that's a
lot
good
of
one.
work.
Because they're unless they're not moving. I mean, unless they're mature. Otherwise, if they're constantly changing, you're gonna have a hard time.
We are over time. I guess we can also talk about this in the engagement box, so you're all welcome to join.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. When is that?
Tomorrow.
It's on the 11th, not here, on the other side of the river. And then we can continue talking about it. Thank you so much, Bastian.